Good evening, everyone. Can we stand for the national anthem of the Commonwealth of Dominica?
I love beauty, I love splendor, I'll do all so sweet and fair. All must surely gaze in wonder at thy gift so rich and rare. Rivers, valleys, hills and mountains, all these gifts we do extol. Healthy land so like all fountains, giving cheer that warms the soul.
Thank you very much. Be seated. That was Delia Coffey Wicks, a member of La Cour des Arts de la Dominique. So, good night, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sponsors, potential actors, members of the Alwyn Bully Foundation, members of La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, and Kaz Creole Productions. Welcome to the soft launch of Streak, a thick slice of Dominican life in the mid-1970s, made by the top chef or the chief playwright, Dr. Alwyn Bully. As we always do or should do before a meal, we pray. So I now call on the way to be deacon, Mr. Val Coffey, someone also who is seasoned in the arts, to do the opening prayer.
Could we all stand, please? And before we begin, let's just have a moment of silence to remember the late, great Dr. Alwyn Bully. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord. May his soul and the souls of all the faithful departed for the mercy of God rest in peace. We begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, as we are gathered here this evening, we come within your midst to give you praise and thanks, and we are grateful that you unite us in purpose and creativity, so that we give the gift of the arts that you have given us through Dr. Bully, the power of storytelling, and for the opportunity to express the truth, the beauty, and the emotion through this theater production Streak. We ask you, dear God, for your blessing upon each and every one of us here present, who has poured out our time while giving our talent and our energy into the People's Action Theater, into La Cour Dominique. We pray for the directors, we pray for the writers, the actors, the supporters, the potential sponsors. May their efforts bear fruit. May this performance of Streak reignite and re-inspire, uplift and provoke meaningful and thoughtful discussion and action through every member of the audience who will attend. And grant us your safety, your protection. Give us the focus and calm us and all the participants who will be partaking. May the message of the play Streak be received with open hearts and minds, and may it have a lasting impact like it did in the 70s. Let this launch be the beginning of something very special for the arts in Dominica, not only on the stage, but in the lives it will touch. May your peace, may your grace, may your love be always present, and give us a purposeful guide always. We make our prayer in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, who died at Calvary so that we could live. Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coffey. So right now we are preparing to serve that thick slice of Dominican life in the mid-1970s. And to do so, we have collaborators. And we want you to know about the collaborators. They are the Alwyn Boley Foundation, La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, Inc., and Kaz Creole Productions. So first off, let us get to know our collaborators, or should I say, we're in a restaurant, right? Caterers. We'll first call on Mrs. Anita Boley of Kaz Creole Productions. Mrs. Boley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A special welcome to everyone to this soft launch of Streak, which was written and directed by Alwyn for the People's Action Theatre, PAT, in 1975. Alwyn had recently returned to Dominica from Barbados, having completed the Bachelor of Arts degree at Cave Hill. He had already written his first play, Good Morning, Miss Millie, for the drama group in Cave Hill, and been performing with Green Room Theatre Group in Barbados in such plays like The Fantastics, Slow Dance on the Killing Ground, and had been working with the Grand Dame of Theatre in Barbados, the Honorable Daphne Hackett, who had recognized his talent and had taken him under her wing. When he returned to Dominica in 1971 after graduating from Cave Hill, he joined the staff of the Dominica Grammar School and began to make use of the theatre experience as a basic teaching instrument. He had picked up the writing bug after his first hit, Good Morning, Miss Millie, and after directing Daniel Cordero's play, Speak, Brother, Speak, which was taken to the first Carifest in Guyana in 1972. When Daniel emigrated to Canada, Alwyn stayed with the group, took over the company, and then, which was then called the Little Theatre Movement, and renamed it the People's Action Theatre, for which he wrote Streak. Streak captivated audiences in Dominica and across the Caribbean. The play is set against the background of social, political, and cultural upheaval following the Black Power and Rastafarian movement in the early 1970s, exploring the challenges faced by the youth at that time. In an interview with Oliver Stevenson of Visions and Voices, Alwyn noted that though the play may be outdated today, in terms of the issues it dealt with, we now have in our hands the future reference and enjoyment, a thick slice of Dominican life in the mid-1970s. Alwyn made some young lovers the background of the story and colored the play with a detail of Dominican character, representing so many faces in our island life. The masquerade of personalities are the things that the critics of the time said that good plays are made of, and as noted in a review by John Wickham of the Bajan newspaper, good plays are made of things good plays are made of. And as noted in a review by John Wickham of the Bajan newspaper, the Queen's House audiences saw their reflections, heard the echoes of their voices, and were witnesses to the behaviors and attitudes which surrounded them. This as the play toured the islands, and even more so by the appreciation of Dominica from all walks of life who saw it, enjoyed themselves, and got the message. We look forward to seeing you when Streak opens in November. I appeal to you to encourage young persons, school children, young adults to see the play and learn about life in Dominica in the 1970s. Where will it play? Your guess is as good as mine. We can only hope it will be at the only theater Dominica has on Kennedy Avenue. If not, we will let you know where. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Anita. Like the play, Arawak is what, coming soon? All right, I'll now call on Adela David to speak about La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, Inc.
Good evening. La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, Inc., Fouige Théâtre, is a registered non-profit organization that is pro-art and pro-culture. The group began in 1999 through the mentorship of Mr. Jose Plia as the Alias Forces Drama Group and was registered in 2003. In September 2006, the group embarked on an initiative to form a joint secondary schools drama group. The vision was to create a generation of dramatists through opportunity. La Cour des Arts de la Dominique comprises of members with experience ranging from 10 to 40 years in the field of theater arts who have participated in stage, film, and radio productions. Members of the group have participated in numerous workshops from prominent and skilled persons on the aspects of drama and film production and writing. The group played a pivotal role in the staging of many years of Festival Théâtre Franco-Creole Dominique in collaboration with Alias Forces de la Dominique, and also has had collaborations with Alwyn Bully's Theatre Network and Kaz Creole Productions. Several of its members have recorded success in one or more areas of the arts, such as poetry, short story writing, calypso, and script writing for stage, television, and radio. 5 members have been awarded special recognition awards from the National Cultural Council for outstanding contribution to cultural development in the field of drama. Member Delia Coffee Weeks received a Golden Drum Award in 2022. The group and its subsidiary group have traveled to perform in the French and English-speaking Caribbean and as far as Cuba. Students of the Joint Secondary Schools Drama Group participated in several short plays, films, and local and regional educational field trips. The greatest success has been in the group's dramatic presentation singly and through the Joint Secondary School Drama Group on social and environmental issues with topics such as sexuality and HIV, violence against women, sexual abuse of minors, human rights regarding HIV. The group is known for its work in HIV using creative approaches. 5 recorded productions on HIV issues are available. The president was recognized by the Caribbean Coalition of National AIDS Program Coordinators in November 2010 and for its Community Leadership Award in the fight against HIV/AIDS. One of the very successful productions of the group was through the staging of Vagina Monologues in October 2003. 6 members of the group are well known even today for their roles in domestic violence television series Wake Up Call, which first premiered in 1998 and was funded through the Women's Bureau. In August 2003, the group had an impactful 3-night staging of Dr. Alwyn Bully's play The Night Box and received support to stage the play in September for secondary school students. Presently, the group comprises of 14 members, 8 original members, and 4 of whom transitioned from the Joint Secondary Schools Drama Group. The group has received support in its quest to use drama as a tool to educate and disseminate information on pertinent health, social, and environmental issues. Thank you.
I think Adela went back in time in the night box. It wasn't 2003. 2000 what? 23. All right. Okay, 2023. And last but by no means least, we have Mr. Colin Bully to speak on the Alwyn Bully Foundation. So 3 collaborators, Kaz Creole Production, La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, Mr. Bully, La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, and the Alwyn Bully Foundation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I think my task tonight should not be too difficult. First, to address you on behalf of the foundation, the Alwyn Bully Foundation, a foundation that was sort of automatic in its birth, in that as soon as we had the passing of my brother Alwyn, everybody spoke of what about the legacy and how do we develop the whole movement that he had created whilst he was with us. And so very quickly, some of his friends and those that he had worked with suggested that we set up a foundation that would be responsible for carrying this legacy forward. And with the approval of his immediate family and their support, we went ahead in forming it. The foundation is very small now, as a membership is about 8 persons, and we are now in the phase of expanding and deepening the operations of the foundation. I am very pleased tonight to see the faces here, because one of the problems we have had with the foundation that we are the only old faces, and I see a future, and I see the power that we can have with you young people here tonight. Just to give you a brief idea, and very quickly, to tell you that our vision is very clear. We have developed a strategic plan that will guide us through our operations. And just to share with you, potential members, what the vision is, and the vision is stated as follows. The Alwyn Bully Foundation's vision is to be a world-class non-profit organization that promotes and develops all aspects of the arts, including dance, drama, music, creative writing, visual arts, and as a platform that will serve as a platform for national and regional development. So we have a very broad mandate and a very deep mandate as well in terms of how we can perform. So far, the foundation has been involved in a number of activities tied up with Alwyn's birthday and also tied up with the period, the date of his death. And some of you might have seen, some of you might have participated and attended some of the events we have had. Just to remind you, we had had a movie night showing some of his work that had been on film and promoting his, what I call his masterpiece, film Osei, was also presented. We also had very recently a very successful performance or concert, which we labeled as Legends, that promoted his work in music and song. And we have begun to put together all the material that he has with the leadership of his wife, Anita, that we can put together all his works and have them secured and be available for future generations. So the work is set for us. We are ready for you to be members, and we hope that this particular exercise that we are going to have, Madam Chair, will be one that will cause us to find the membership and the commitment that we want from persons like you. Let me join in welcoming you then to this event that we encourage and oversee, if we put the two participants or the two organizations, it's correct, it's two of them, that will be with us. And I want to publicly thank them for coming forward and doing this work. Thank you very much.
So I heard potential members. So I'm hoping that people are not saying, what happened? They said a trap first, man. So they say, what, the devil setting traps, don't you fall? No, that's a good trap. That is an opportunity. So Mr. Bully took the opportunity because we are looking, the Alvin Bully Foundation is looking for membership. Lakudezat is looking for membership. So we grabbed the opportunity. So you are potential sponsors, potential members, potential everything tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, we continue. Boys and girls, sponsors, potential actors, potential members. And we are looking at 50 years ago, this thick slice of Dominican life was served to packed audiences, the street. Or should I say, packed audiences at the St. Gerard's Hall, now the St. Gerard's Chapel. And Strick was first performed in 1975, so if you do the maths, 5 plus 5, 55, it's it's 50, you know, just for you to laugh, man. It's 50, and it's the 50th anniversary, and we call that the Golden Jubilee. And so we are going to dish out some history. And you know who we look upon when we have to dish out our history? Who do we look upon? That's a question. Okay, the answer is Dr. Lennox Honeychurch. So let's welcome Dr. Lennox Honeychurch to present Streak, its relevance and impact in 1974 and today. Dr. Lennox Honeychurch.
Greetings, good night, and thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, I want to apologize, first of all, for being late. I had to come from Woodford Hill, and I am getting older, and I have to drive more carefully, and I almost got overrun by one of the kings of the road, the motorcyclists, almost smashed into me. Not my fault, but I would have even been further delayed. Anyway, I have made it in one piece, praise the Lord. And I am, over the last few days since I was asked to give this talk, I have been reflecting back those 50 years. And it's amazing that it's 50 years, because when I was there at the rehearsals for the show at St. Gerard's Hall and we were preparing, I remember the night in April when the newspapers, it was a Friday evening, and the Chronicle was just around the corner at the top of what was then called Queen Mary Street, now Independence Street, and the papers came in, and my fellow actors and members of People's Action Theatre were so shocked to see on the cover of the paper, first page, Lennox Honeychurch has been appointed to the House of Assembly to be the third nominated member for the opposition by Mary Eugenia Charles. But Lennox, what are you doing? We never knew you to be in that. So 50 years ago, I entered a new adventure, one of my many adventures. And I do remember that there. And surrounding me, of course, were the people and of of the People's Action Theatre, Noreen Joseph, Stings, for instance, Lennox Rock, who actually got his name. And this was a feature of People's Action Theatre, in that you were giving a part, you were playing a part, and for your life, Pan Man, the rest of your life, your name that you had in the play was the nickname. Sometimes people even knew you better by your nickname in the play than actually your baptismal name. We have Pan Man, Albert Bellot is one of them from another play, and Stings, Lennox Rock, who's overseas, from this one. So we have sometimes my friends who were with me in Rula and Hairuna still call me Mr. Forbes, because I was the governor administrator in that play. So you see the power of what Alwyn put together was this family of young people. Anita has said most of what I was going to say. So I folded up my phone and I've left it there, and I will work from memory, because it was a very dynamic time. And we had a play previous to that in 1972 called Speak, Brother, Speak. And that had been written by Daniel Cauderon, the famous, I would call a national hero, Mabel Sissy Cauderon's son, Daniel, who came to live here for a number of years and wrote poetry and got in trouble with government and was part of the stimulation for a huge strike in 1973. All of these things coming together as part of what was going on in Dominica at the time. And these plays, Speak, Brother, Speak, was bringing from the streets, from the life of the country, all the things that were going on at the time and in the years previous to their writing. Now, we must understand why these plays were important. And Alwyn talked about Calypso theatre. From time to time, he would say, you know, what I'm really doing is Calypso theatre. And he admitted that sometimes those kinds of plays only live within their time. And it's very difficult then to put on those plays at a later, maybe 10 years, 9 years later, 20 years later, because you have a completely new audience that did not participate on the streets and within the communities and society at that time. And the thing with the Calypso Theatre and Alwyn's work is that all these things that were happening, the audience arrived into the theatre and they knew of these things that were happening but had not been expressed. And one of the reasons was, and we live in another time, there was only one radio station, and it was the government radio station. And no other voice but the government could be on that radio station. So but that's one of the reasons why the big strike in 1973 occurred, because the government accused Daniel Cauderon of saying things. He was employed by the station and reading poems and doing things which were volatile and was stirring up trouble. Okay? So the theater became a very important platform, because you couldn't say these things on the one radio station. And remember, it wasn't until the 1980s that the whole radio broadcasting was opened up, and you had these FM stations that were running alternative views. The leader of the opposition could not speak on Radio Dominica. I worked for Radio Dominica, and I had to be very careful. Every day at 12 in the week, 12 noon, I would drive up to the ministry and go up to the Premier's office, and I would be given the releases for the day. And there was no changing of those releases, not a word. It had to be read as news. Now today, of course, people would cavil at that. They would say, well, my goodness, how unfair and unreasonable. But that was the spirit of the times. But while all of this sort of closed down in relation to expression on the radio was going on, all sorts of things were happening underground, lots of little newspapers. Now, that's another thing for those who are of the younger age. No computers, no printing. The printing that we had was on what was called a Roneo machine. You typed out on, many people may know this, of course, particularly the older ones, you typed out with a former old-time typewriter on a stencil which punctured the letters into the page, and then you had to stick that page on an inked machine and turn it, roll out the sheets. And all this time, it was kind of exciting because you had these underground papers, if you want, being printed. And they were printed if you had somebody with a Roneo machine to stencil out these things. Late in the night, you'd be there running out these things. And even the scripts for the plays were run out on these, I guess, Stetner and Roneo machines. Those are the two main names. And also there was these sheets of paper, maybe only 2 or 3, commenting on what was going on at the time. And we also participated in producing a magazine called Wasin, lasted for maybe a couple of years. And I wish Anita is doing her best to piece all of them together. The archives have a few, but we did drawings, I did cartoons, short stories, and all these things were being produced in this magazine called Wasin, which was a runoff on these machines. So you can see that the theater meant a lot because of the fact that it was commenting on things that could not be commented on in the more public media. So that was one important thing. And then what was going on that was being commented on? Now, in 1972, when Brother Speak came out, it was the fifth anniversary of self-government, associated statehood, which we had achieved in 1967. And that was a big anniversary because in the 5 years since statehood, there had been a resurgence, a renaissance, an upbeat even in breaking new ground in the dramatic arts, in painting, in art. There were various painting groups and all that kind of stuff. So when Kodera was producing his stuff, he was basically covering what had happened at the end of the 60s. The emergence of the whole Black Power movement, the development of discos, and what went on in the discos, and the type of music, and the relationships between, the separation of the classes, which was very intense at that time. The Guamilat, in a way, still existed, and the Black Power was coming in, and meetings were being held at the gardens on an afternoon, usually a weekend afternoon, by people like Para Revere leading them, and even people who have become respectable citizens, like Julian Johnson and all of these others. They were out there in the gardens, and people would come under the trees, and they would hear all about the new movements that were happening, not only in Dominica, but of course in the international circuit, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, the emergent leaders of Africa, independent nations in Africa. Of course, the first education, if you want, of Marcus Garvey and all that. That was going on in the Botanic Gardens. And as I mentioned, you had all these leaflets coming out. And then on the streets, you had a lot of demonstrations for various causes. And the strike that I mentioned, which shut down the island in 1973 over Kodera, and the civil service, one of the big civil service strikes, which was joined by much of the private sector. So all of that was brimming and bubbling at the time. And then we had a big change in 1974 because they basically, the father of self-government, if you want, and the one who broke new waves in the governance of Dominica, Edward Oliver Leblanc. He resigned all of a sudden, to the surprise of everybody, in July of 1974. And in an interview with the late Parry Bellotte, he explained that, all of what's going on is just too much for him. He was not brought up within that pattern of society and government. He even said, all this black power, and they will say I'm not black power enough, and all that kind of stuff. And he just decided, I'm closing shop. I am going back to Viecaz at the early age of 53. I'm going to Viecaz and I'm cutting myself off and I'm leaving. And he had actually set in motion that through appointing a deputy premier, Ronald Amo. But there was another little guy who had other ideas, and that was Patrick John. So what Patrick John did is, when they were going to hold the delegates conference at the Goodwill High School, well, it was, and Parish Hall, he then went around the country with his friends, and he got a massive new set of delegates. So when everybody arrived at the Parish Hall to vote, to Amo's great surprise, there came Patrick John winning the majority of the delegates. And Amo was out, although he had been a very strong member of the Dominica Labour Party. He was out. Patrick John came in with his, and then planned an election for 1975, and it was called the New Dynamic Team. So you can imagine, all this was going on at the time. In the Carnival of 1974, Carnival Tuesday night, I remember it very well. I was there in King George V Street, and the news started to spread that a visitor, overseas visitor, had been shot dead by People's Park. And of course, what came out of that was the case against Desmond Trotter and Roy Mason, and it held the island, in awe. I remember when the final decision was taken, and the jury said that Trotter was guilty and Mason was set free. And the whole of Victoria Street and all that was filled with people shouting and screaming. All of this was going on because, of course, the court was where the House of Assembly is now. So you had that happening, and then the famous Four Corner Boys gathered on the four corners just up from here at the junction of Kennedy Avenue and Great George Street. And they would comment very loudly about their views against certain things, pro and con, and this emergence now of the music that was coming down from Jamaica, thanks to Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and all the others. So this now was feeding in to all the stuff that was going on in Dominica as well. And that's why, and the singing related to it, that's why you have a symbol here of a young guy, and locks are beginning to be worn, and all of this is beginning to bubble. And when John takes over, you have the emergence of the more violent branch of a group that was called the Dreads. People going up into the hills and setting up a new lifestyle in Zion. That is still something that I would like some real skillful academic to debate, because all is not what it may appear to have been. There is a possibility that John stirred up the stuff himself and his colleagues to make the country fearful, and then he, as the shining knight in armor, would be the one to pass restrictive laws and save the day. And by saving the day, he would then be elected in the March 1975 election as the new premier of Dominica with his dynamic team. And that basically is what happened. So he won 16 of the 21 seats in the House of Assembly for the Labour Party. All of that I'm saying because all that time Alwyn is putting together his street. And the name, of course, what is happening in the big wide outside world, for some strange reason, a fashion took over where usually it was Europeans, people in the United States, would take off their clothes and streak in public across a football field or a cricket field or whatever. Streaking was a big thing. And then the police would chase them and they'd be charged for indecent exposure and all of that kind of stuff. So Alwyn knitted all these things together to create this streak. And of course, it just stunned the Dominican populace. And they would say, all right, we're going to run this play for the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. And then, of course, more people wanted to come, so it would have to flow over into the following weeks. And then the whole business of carrying the play elsewhere. Because remember, once again, nobody could watch, this didn't exist. And nobody could watch the play in Dodan or Grand Fort or wherever on their thing, on their cell phone, and know what's going on. So you had to go and see it physically. And that is why People's Action Theatre, they hired a truck in those days, the big banana Bedford trucks, and all the scenery and the costumes and all of that was put on board. And then you went off to Portsmouth or Londonderry, where they had a kind of big hall, and some of the other big communities, and the plays were put on there. And people like Anita had to boil food and make chili con carne for everybody. I can remember the days. They were great days, but my goodness me, it was under some tremendous pressures. So it was in that vein, and I have a whole plot, but Anita mentioned a little bit about it. I think you did too. The key characters that Alwyn put together. So you had a generational thing. You had the young lovers, and then you had the older, of course, always the grandmother, the aunt, the mother trying to deal with this new phase that was hitting Dominica, And I have my notes here. In fact, when Anita gave me my introduction that I had written in the 70s, I even forgot I had written it. I forgot that I said all of this. But essentially, it was covering more or less what I'm talking about here. I notice in the end of the introduction, and remind me if it happens, that the young couple decide they're going to Saint-Sauveur or somewhere. Right. They go up to Saint-Sauveur and go up into Zion. I got in big trouble in the House of Assembly once with Natalie Charles, Sister Nats. Sister Nats and some relatives had a place way up over the hills there behind Springfield. And I had a little moke. And Sister Nats said, oh, I have something to take up, up to Zion, and I need your transport. So there we are going up through Canefield and riding along, open moke, mini moke, and down the road comes a few Labour Party supporters. So they said, so where you all going? So where you all going? I know, boldface. It's all a breeze. It's all fun. I said, we're going Zion. Drove away. I thought nothing more of it. A month later, we have a meeting at the House of Assembly. And Patrick John says, Mr. Speaker, you know the person who is partly responsible for the terrorism that is going on in this country now? Right there, the third nominated member, Lennox Honeychurch. The other day, he was traveling with highly suspect people up through Roger Canefield. And when somebody passed and asked them where he's going, Mr. Speaker, the third nominated member, he shouted, we're going Zion! So you see, Mr. Speaker, that is where it's coming from. Yeah? He's behaving like he's Miss Charles's little white boy, but behind it is terror, I said, wow, That's my introduction to politics. Anyway, that was the sort of thing that was happening, and it all was happening around that time, overflowing, of course, into 76. I was also put, okay, we'll put you on the spot. I was made secretary because they passed this law against the Dreads. It was called the Dread Act, but it had a more formal name, Prohibited Societies and Associations Act and so on. And then they decided they're going to have a commission of inquiry. And who do they appoint to the commission but myself? But worse still, they make me the secretary. So I have to go and write the entire report based on the notes that are taken. And there were distinguished other people on the committee, like the Reverend Pond. The chairman was Reverend Didier, head of the Methodist Church. And they were dignified. The only person that was really my speed that was on it was Lucia Blaise. And then these things came, you have to go up to Bells, and you have to go and speak and interview Mal Esprit, or you have to go up behind Castle Bruce and talk to so-and-so. Well, of course, all the older members, and I'm going up there in this bush now. And so it ended up being, like myself and Lucia Blaise and a couple of younger people, and the driver was always Father Alexander. He was on the committee, he was a priest. So we had to go up in the bush and interview all of these things, and then I had to produce the report and all that. So it was like a baptism by fire, and it was a very nervous, but it was exciting. It was also kind of, wow, what's going to happen next? And so that, what I'm telling you, is the theme that was put on stage, and very skillfully by Alwyn, it was adapted to a community, a family, and all the story was represented through that. So you can understand that when the audience saw things that they could relate to that were happening around them, the applause and the laughter, the reaction was very, very intense. And today the challenge that director and members have is to try to recreate that for an audience who in many cases had not yet been born. So it is also a historic document explaining how things were, and it is a play, and I am very glad, because I don't have the energy anymore to do any of that, that Gloria and her group have come up to fortify and create La Cour des Arts de la Dominique and produce the things that they are producing to keep the fires burning. That's a line out of Alwyn, Rula, and Haruna. Keep the fires burning. Da-da-da-dum, it works. So I will leave it there, or else I will go on into deep, deep history and details that we don't really require. But you basically got the taste. It was a very cutting-edge time. It was a very dynamic time, and it was a period when Dominicans were getting to learn about the whole business of being an independent nation. And nobody was going to come from Britain and take over and manage the affairs for you. You, in your parliament, in your political meetings, in your unions, you had to handle that yourself. So I want to thank all those involved for getting into the action and producing this historic text. I will always remember Alwyn for his work in not only producing these plays, but what he did is he pulled together people that ordinarily may not have interacted with one another. And they all came into the People's Action Theatre, and we will never, ever forget our relationship with each other from what Alwyn had put together. So thanks for your attention, and thanks once again to all the members who are going to be giving this life once more and teaching people through theater of what Dominica has experienced 50 years ago. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Honeychurch. He never disappoints. And in terms of relevance of things done, plays done in the 1970s, when we did Nightbox, a lot of people could identify with some of the lines and some of the things in the Nightbox. So therefore, when you come to see Strick in November, keep your ears and eyes open, and then after you'll tell us. So, thank you very much again, Dr. Honeychurch. And since you deserve more thanks than that, more will be given as a dessert in the vote of thanks. All right? Yeah, we're keeping it all in the restaurant language. All right. So we saw at the Writers' Festival in honor of Dr. Alwyn Bully and Steve Hyacinth a couple of years ago, at a special awards concert, Dr. Bully was recognized as Chief Prolific Chef Playwright. And during the ceremony, excerpts of their plays were shown. And for Dr. Bully, it was Good Morning, Miss Billy, which I directed, and Strick, which Curtis directed, and it was performed the excerpt was performed at that ceremony. For Mr. Hyacinth, I think it was Why Sweetie that was done. I think so. So let me tell you that now. We are going to show you that excerpt that was done during the Writers' Week and the award ceremony. But bear in mind that the actors that you will see may not necessarily be those who will be in the 50th anniversary production. Also, and because it's from YouTube and we had some challenges on that night, the quality of the recording might be a little off 100%. But you will get the message and you will get a slice of what happened in Strick. It's a pity that we do not have, we could not unearth, or we do not have any video from the original productions, but we'll make sure that this doesn't happen again. So anytime we do things now, we will have something, and then whenever technology improves, upgrades, then we will do so that we can keep the archives there for future generations. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sponsors, actors, potential members, and I present you with the YouTube excerpt of Strick, directed by Curtis Clarendon of La Cour des Arts de la Dominique. So enjoy.
Are you doing well? You have to break it out like this. I don't know what to really care. You're not calling your name more than this is something white man already. I expect them to do that. I mean, I've been saying for all these days, you know who I am? That is one of the main reasons I wanted to see you. I know you start believing all those rumors that running around the place like bushfire and escape. But let me tell you one thing. For the first and the last time, I'm not killing nobody, and I'm not causing no trouble. I was in the country. It's only when I come down and Ashworth that I hear about that. But you hear all those names they're calling names. Alan Foster, Ben Johnson, Bosie, Frederick, Sly, Mello. All of them are your best friends. You must expect them to put you in it too. But that's what I told you. I expect them to put me in it too. Just go smoke with your fire man. What? Good is the only girl you're talking about? Listen, there are rumor factories in this person. People who will just sit down and invent stories about people. Yeah, I don't know why it's those kind of people you want as your friends, you know. I try to tell you, leave those Black Power fellows alone. Leave those MNBs alone. No, I didn't get in trouble for killing nobody. But what about the friends you like in the kid? I don't like them. So, look at boy, you're not trying to tell me Alan and Rosie and them fellas. You don't mean really them fellas that kill the family. I don't want to really get anymore. No, don't ever say. I don't want anybody to know. What's going on, Ken? Nothing. I just want to know what we can do. Look, John. I'm sorry to say, but I got one area back to you. Ken, it's not that I don't want you to speak. What? What about Stella? What you think? Oh, Jesus! Help me, your man. Good. I'm telling you about Stella. Every time something, a decision has to be made between you and I, it has to be one about Stella there. So what it is, you prefer Stella more than me there? But she has afterwards for this question. Because she has to be involved in all the decision because of that. You cannot be your own woman there. Stella is my cousin and the closest friends with all these fellows. Yeah, but she don't get water. She can't tell you what to do. You know where she goes. She's going to go for the new generation. And myself, I don't know. One thing I know, I'm not to building for size. And about can you tell her that? Well, anyway, you can't keep us in the you want to fill up there. Yeah, I was standing right for size already. Sometimes I don't know why I don't marry. Sometimes I wonder why you talk so much. A nice, decent girl like you. The way I know that this is actually very like kind of it's hungry. What's anything? Breakfast. Okay. I'll be something like cheese and bread for too much. Yeah, man. Since all that confusion is gone, maybe you have to go to store, I'm feeling kind of upset. Yeah, I'm like, you look like a outside dog people out there in your head. Well, the frustrations in this place, you know, too much worry for one now. Now, that's what's it. I need to take it so far. People with US dollars in the air and placards written, we cannot survive without America. I have never seen so much ignorance. I mean, I agree with God. Sometimes people take on tears and shouting in the ground like, you know what I mean? That's just too much nonsense now. I mean, I don't like that. Ministers going on the radio and apologizing and all of that. That's just too much. You must go like this, killing and just like that. I never say that. And I really hope that they find out who killed the man and bring them to justice. You know? But at the same time, ministers going on the radio and everyone who's going on the stand here and apologies and all that. I just find that was too much. If you don't take some positive action, this is what you're doing sometimes. Because you want to just kill everybody and wait for second life. Yeah, you think you are. Nah, I don't think so, you know. The black power situation cooled down. You see fellas driving around for corner again? But I see also policy everything is like massive all over the country. And it's going to push up because everyone's stuck. So we don't feel really right. I really Anyway, I cannot say for your life. I cannot take over your camera. Okay, what are you running from? What are you hiding from? You didn't stay. Somebody said, show all those people that were left here, they are telling us that I wish you still with me. Please stay. Yeah, real friend. You didn't want to miss something and John Radio, explain with this episode. This movement is 27 months. Oh, I was ready to tell you what's in there.
The time in the studios of Radio Dominica is 7:15, and it's time for another exciting episode in the series, I, Christopher Macaulay.
I'm not surprised that somebody like you will be interested in something like that. Of course, it's very understand. And corruption too. Really can save your breath. Everyone.
Hey, hi, Jack. Hey, Baba. Yeah. Hey, why don't you say on the spot? Hey. Yeah, that's not good to do. Yeah. Hey, what's up? Ignorance. I will tell you about the Dominican monster. Dominican monster because that monster is purely corrupt. It goes back to that endless. The ignorant monster must show your face. You go to one answer before that song. The monster will show up and mess up the one if you enter. So people at the 49 classes are pushing and fighting and falling in the class. Jabbing and grabbing. Supposed to dance in the world. But those that got chance is pure ignorance. And I show and I see around when you open his face. If you shout out and laugh out like it made no sense, you be straight to hear what the people that say. While the monster they're crying out and it's really out of pain. And the looks in the show is the thing I most hate. It will last long for one joke and reach 7 or 8. But his soul wants to respect, and that is a fact. It's pure ignorance. Who live before all children to be in themselves? Who live straight up and straight big in themselves? Who feel all the courage to still get to the next in themselves? And who get to fix it till you have accident in themselves? Who come up in the building that just fits in themselves and play in the sense as if they said in themselves? Who splash in the water while driving the rain The monster, the monster, the monster, the monster, the monster. And this baby, I am not a little, but baby,
Yes, a Dreadman. As we said, it's a fixed slice of Dominican life in the mid-1970s during the Dread era, one of them. Okay. I saw Strick. I guess you can guess my age. I saw Strick. But recently, I had the opportunity to read the script of Strick twice. And with a more developed brain now, I can tell you that I can savor the lines and make the comparison between then and now that sometimes felt like now. But we'll see when you come in November. So, with the collaborators, before I forget, Mr. Gary Didier is in the house. And Mr. Gary Didier was one of the actors in the original production. And as you saw, he graced the stage when we did the exit. Gary Didier. Take a bow now, Gary. All right. So with the collaborators, that's the Olivoli Foundation, La Codeza de la Dominique Inc., and Casquel Productions, want and need and are asking for sponsorship to help us to make the Strick production a reality. And we are also looking for talent to bring the production to life so that those who saw it before and those who never saw it can enjoy and learn Strick from Strick in full measure. So, Makum, why you want to know the meaning of strict?
I hear they're going to do Alwyn Bully play strict in November. So I'm looking to check and see if it's really PG-13 that there.
Our PG-13, nasty business. Not the Alwyn Bully I knew at all.
But look, I seen Stricken is running naked for a public area for fun.
And that's the only meaning you see there? Let me tell you, Alwyn Bully strict is a mental strict for every man jack in Dominica to remove their mask and pretensions and to look at themselves truthfully and openly all the time. So when you come to the play, if you want to do the real stricken and add some more fun, go ahead, Mafi.
Women, the police to arrest me, man. But I cannot wait to see what they were stricken 50 years ago.
All right, we'll see. So, to make it happen and to heighten our plea for actors, technical crew, and much needed sponsorship, I call on Severin Mackenzie to make a pitch.
Good evening, everybody. All right. I wish I could sing because the theme song of Strict. You remember it, Lennox?
Yes.
What was it again?
Sorry.
I'm tired of this dread scene, sir, and all the corruption here. I'm looking for a place of peace and unity. And every time a baby born, and coming and living it, ness up sin. I wonder why they expect them come in this dread sin. I could sing Calypso, right?
Yes. I know it's coming back to me now.
You getting it? Yeah. So this is the theme song of Strict. And 50 years ago, when we did Strict, when PAT did Strict with Alwyn, and it was a Strict, and Strict was the first of a series of plays that was just rolling out. So it was Strict in 75, and Ruler in 76, and Folk Nativity, and Nightbox in 77, and P.O. in 78, and Jesus Christ Superstar, and Green Gold, the radio serial, and we would just roll it. To the extent that at one stage, Alwyn was considering PAT going professional in the Caribbean, because we were doing plays and we were getting the audiences in the Caribbean islands excited to the extent, I do not know if Lennox will remember, when we went to St. Vincent with Ruler. The last night there was maybe 1,000 people out there, and it was just too small for the auditorium, and Alwyn said, okay, it appears that we have to do 2 shows that night. We would start the first one at 8, and then we would start the second one at 11:30, because Ruler was a relatively long play. But by the time we finished the first one, it was a Sunday night, and persons decided that they could not wait to go into a theater and sit down in an auditorium at 11:30 in the night to see a play. And the actors were burnt. So, but this is what we were doing in the 70s with Alwyn Bully and the People's Action Theatre. So let me send special greetings to Gary Didier. You see Gary, how many years later, that was just, when was this one? The except was 22 or 20, Gary? Just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And still looking like the 23-year-old that was there in the original. Yeah. So, we would also like to recognize some of the other actors, like Ingrid Angol and Vivian Renee South, Benji Shillingford, who was supposed to be here with us tonight but could not make it, Daphne Daru. So there are quite a number of persons who participated. We've got a cast of 15 main actors, plus we've got other sage hands and other supporting actors. So we have a production team of close to 40. And these are not the days when we would just go to St. Gerard's Hall every Tuesday night for just regular meetings and every night for rehearsals. And the only thing that we'd be looking for as far as a reward was concerned was, Anita, what is the tour we going on for summer? This was our basic reward, going on a Caribbean tour. But these days it's difficult. In fact, I can remember when Alwyn would bring out a script, there would be so many people anticipating and waiting to see if they would be casted in roles. And you know how many people try in different parts. The experience tonight is a bit different for us. We have to send out a special call for actors. So we want to go through a auditioning process, looking for young men. Seems like, what we had in the 70s. We had the St. Gerard's Hall, we had the Parish Hall, then we went to Portsmouth, we could perform in RBD, we could take the plays to Grand Bay, and we could also take it to Youth Camp, the Londonderry Youth Camp, where all these places had auditoriums. This time with Strick, we are anticipating that.
Coming soon, Howard.
Gloria said it. We are hoping that we will have a place that is well equipped with sound and lights and everything, because we really want to put out a real professional performance. And this is why we have started very early, because generally Alwyn's rehearsals would start just about after Carnival. After Carnival, and then we would have the plays most times we would have the first showings in April. So it would just be about 6 to 8 weeks. So this time we know the challenges that we have. We do not have the source of actors ready. So we have to bring them in, and we have to go through a regime, because when we were doing in the days of PAT, we would be going through, in between plays, in between rehearsals, we would be going through the exercising regime that goes with acting, so that people would know exactly the rudiments of acting, even the stage positioning. So we do not want to just take green people and just put them into the cast without going through at least some of these exercises, so that people could know, at least be able to capture the basics of acting. And we really want to come out with a class production. So the production team is going to, I have volunteered, in fact, to direct Strick. And I am doing it because I think I had some experience working with Alwyn, because way back in 1981, after some years, when Alwyn was starting to even get tired as early as 1981, he had appointed myself and Paul Toulon to be his assistant art directors. And then soon after that, I had to leave. I went to study, but I have also directed quite a number of Alwyn's plays. I'm from Grand Fort. We did Nightbox in Cuba. We did Folk Nativity in Grand Fort. We also did Folk Nativity with the St. Alphonsus Choir. And I've got quite a bit of experience working with the Movement for Cultural Awareness, with the Clifton Capuchin Cultural Group, where we did Death Trap some years ago. So we are hoping that we are going to get a team of professionals, semi-professionals, or people who are dedicated to the theatre art to come on board with us. We have some constraints, however. constraints of getting male actors particularly, and also female, so we'll be auditioning. But also the constraints of putting out a masterpiece, a class performance, production, which is calling for quite a bit of money. It's costing. So the production is in fact costing in excess of $50,000. Because these days are not 50 years ago when the lightsman would be volunteering and the songsman would be volunteering, and we would be putting and everything, we go and we would get lights donated by maybe, these days are gone. So we have to start, but we have actually budgeted, and the budget for the production is in excess of $50,000. And it is for this reason that we are appealing to the corporate community and also individuals who can assist in making a small contribution towards the production. Because we are hoping that bringing back Strick, although we are going to keep the original script, we are going to keep the time of 1975 because it was an interesting time. It was the time of Black Power. It was the time of movement for New Dominica. It was the time for dreads, and it was in time also the Muslim community started emerging. So it was a time when it was just a few years after when grammar school shedded the tie for the crest, and a few years later they brought it back. And it was a time when we were talking, the Black consciousness movement was taking root in the Caribbean and in Dominica particularly. So we believe that Strick is a historical piece, and we are going to create the atmosphere of 1975 when it was the setting of this play, the backdrop of this play. And we are appealing to the corporate community to please understand, because we really are in a situation right now where at the time Strick came out, we had Aquarian Expression came out, and then we had Raymond Lawrence, who did a few years later Papa Toussaint. You remember Papa Toussaint, Raymond? So we had quite a number of theatrical pieces coming out, and we had an interest in theater, and the theater movement in Dominica was in fact right up there. And we believe that with all the technology that is available, social media and all the things, I think some years ago we were actually going to bring in some children from Nigeria, to do some things. So why can't we start looking at our children when they're looking at their tablets or their phones and looking at YouTube, that they can be seeing reels of themselves in positive ways, sending out the messages that we would want to do. So this is the appeal that we want to make now. If anybody is you have children, or people who are interested, young people who are interested in the production, please ask them to contact the Alwyn Bully Foundation or La Coup des Arts, and then they will be considered for auditioning. And for the corporate community, we want to ask you, please respond to our pledges, our requests for sponsorship in whatever way. We have different scales of sponsorship. It starts at $3,500 for the platinum, $2,500 for the gold, $1,500 for the silver, and $1,000 for the bronze. And with that goes some perks, some things, free tickets and advertising and all the things. But most importantly, apart from the publicity that you'll be getting for sponsoring Strick, we will be contributing towards the development of theater in Dominica once again. And we're really hoping that our young people can start refocusing. In fact, this is one of the programs that we in the Alwyn Bully Foundation is trying to undertake where we are in the process, we are giving some thought of establishing Alwyn Bully Theatre Institute, where we can get young people interested and pursuing careers in theatre drama. So I hope I have convinced you that please chip in, as you know, we wouldn't pass the hat around as yet, but we are there. The shows are going to be, we are going to open up the premiere in November during the independent season. The tentative date 1st November, and then we will have a rerun for Halloween's 77th birthday, which is on the 23rd of November. So, thank you very much for coming. And let me say, we appreciate everyone who is here tonight and those who are looking at, those who are viewing the activity, the event on DNO. And let me say thank you to Tim Durant and DNO for streaming this event live tonight. So once again, thanks again. And let's hope we can come out with a master blaster.
Just to add to what Mackenzie said, one of the things too that we'll be coming, that we'll be looking for, because we have to recreate a 1975 home, there are some things that we may have to ask some people to lend to borrow from. Lend it to me, which one? Anyhow, you all know what I mean. Okay? So I'll be coming and say, well, we would like, because it wasn't sell time, eh? So we have to get the old phones and so on. All right, so the good book said, it admonished us to give praise and thanks in all things. And we are claiming your talent, your support, and much needed financial sponsorship. And for this, we want to thank you in advance. We also want to thank all those of you who will continue to contribute to the servings of Strick, that slice of Dominican life in the mid-1970s, and who have graced our first course of the 50th anniversary celebrations, this soft lunch. So to do so, I'm going to call on Melinda Serafin, a member of La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, to do the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I am truly honored to give this vote of thanks as we celebrate the soft launch of the restaging of Strick. As we approach the 50th anniversary of this remarkable production, it's a beautiful thing to witness such a strong show of support for our culture and the legacy of Dr. Alwyn Bully. Our distinguished guests, members of the media, potential sponsors, theater lovers, and many friends of the Dominican culture, thank you. Your presence tonight speaks volumes about your commitment to the arts and the spirit of the community that sustains it. A special thank you to the media practitioners who are present here tonight, and especially Dominican News Online for offering to stream this live. The media's dedication to amplifying the voices of our artists and preserving the richness of our stories is invaluable. Thank you for helping us ensure that this tribute and the broader narrative of Dominican theatre reaches far and wide. Mr. Val Coffey, thank you for your prayer and blessing. Thank you to Dr. Lennox Honeychurch. Your continuous willingness, ability, and enthusiasm to share your historical insights. To our potential sponsors and partners, thank you for your time, interest, and consideration. Investing in the arts is investing in the soul of our nation. We trust that tonight has ignited spark
and that you'll join us in this journey as we prepare for the full restaging of Strick in November 2025, and aligned with our independence celebration and what would have been Dr. Bully's 77th birthday. To the many theatre enthusiasts and cultural advocates, your energy, your passion, and presence remind us exactly why we do this work. You are the heartbeat of our creative society, and we are thrilled to share this moment with you. A heartfelt thank you to the members of the Alwyn Bully Foundation, Inc., Casquale Productions, and La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, Inc. Mr. Colin Bully, Miss Anita Bully, Adela David, who spoke on behalf of the three organizations respectively. Thank you. Mr. Severin for your pitch for the sponsorship. Thank you. Sincere thank you to Miss Anita Bully and the Bully family for your gracious support and meaningful involvement in this event and your ongoing work with the Alwyn Bully Foundation. Together, we carry the torch of Alwyn Bully's legacy. And to the entire creative team leading the 2025 restaging, thank you for your artistry, your leadership, and your commitment to excellence. Your work ensures that Strick will once again shine brightly on our national stage. A warm thank you to the Katai Restaurant for graciously allowing us to use your venue to host tonight's event. Your hospitality and wonderful refreshments, as you will taste later, have helped create the perfect ambiance and for this special occasion. We truly are grateful for your partnership in making this event possible. Miss Gloria Gosses, thank you for your skills in emceeing. And finally, thank you to each and every one of you for being here. Thank you also for those of you who are listening online. Thank you for believing in the transformative power of culture. When we come together to honor our heroes and uplift our stories, we can create something powerful. As we look ahead, let us continue this journey with pride and determination, so that Strick may once again shine on the stage and its powerful legacy remain forever and etched in our hearts. So once again, thank you to everyone.
Announcement after vote of thanks. I invite all present here to partake of light refreshments and stick around to tell us of your support for Strick or your interest in being part of cast or crew. And safe journey home, and help us to spread the word on what promises to be an inspiring showcase of talent, featuring and captivating blend of drama, music, and dance. And Strick is not streaking. Peace.
All right.